another edition of the Contractor's Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by ContractorsSecretWeapon.com.
Before we get into the conversation with you, I just want to do a shout out to our sponsors who help promote Contractor's Secret Weapon and just some of the things that they have in store for you, our listeners. Hey, is your phone ringing enough? Do you want it to ring more with highly motivated and qualified buyers that contact you, the contractor, directly? No more waiting for the phone to ring. Just answer that phone. Best Home Services leads are dedicated to making your phone ring with motivated buyers that call you directly. There's no obligation to talk with them. Just go to ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/money. Fill out the form to secure your discount on the setup fee. Do it today. This special will not last forever. Check them out at ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/money.
Running a small business is no easy task, and I should know because I had a service company for almost 10 years. I am the founder of a software called Radius Bomb, and it's unbelievable. And for all the listeners of Contractor's Secret Weapon, we have a special offer for you to check out. If you want to send hyper-targeted, laser-focused, super personalized postcards to your exact prospects using a map while sitting in your underwear, then go to ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/Radius Bomb, and we'll give you your first 100 postcards for free. Just go to ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/Radius Bomb.
Hey, this is Dave Negri with Contractor's Secret Weapon. I am just so glad everyone's here today. I have a real and fun and exciting guest with us today, Shawn Van Dyke. And Shawn is a construction industry consultant, business coach, and mentor. He's the author of the Paperwork Punch List, 28 Days to Streamline Your Construction Business and Find Home Building Brand Administrator. Shawn is a keynote speaker and travels the U.S. working with and training construction businesses owners on how to streamline their businesses. That's a fun thing. No one likes to work hard.
Right.
Yeah. Before becoming a business coach, Shawn owned a construction management consulting firm and general contracting company. He also served as an executive at a specialty contracting company, and he enjoys living life in East Tennessee, where it's nice and warm this time of year, and happily married with 5 kids. So, Shawn, I'm just excited that you're with us today and you're willing to share some valuable information with us for our listeners.
Oh, Dave, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your journey on how you got from here to there to where you are today.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when I hear my own bio read off. I kind of hear my wife in the back of my head just saying, to some people all that stuff sounds impressive. To her, and being married to an entrepreneur, it sounds like, man, you can't keep down a job, dude.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, I started out my career, I guess, by getting a couple of degrees in engineering, and I got a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and a master's degree in structural engineering. Spent a few years doing that, and then realized I don't think I want to be an engineer. And so I transitioned to commercial construction, doing some project management for some commercial contractors, and then kind of bounced around as we do in construction sometimes from company to company, and ended up doing some real estate development, working as a construction manager for a real estate developer, traveling all around the Midwest and the Southeast, building large commercial developments. And by then we had number 2 on the way, and I was on the road 3 days a week, and my wife was kind of like, yeah, this isn't going to work out so well for being a dad. So I started my own construction management company and real estate company. That transitioned during the downturn into a general contracting company. And let's see what happened after that. Yeah, I went to work as a chief operating officer for a trim and millwork company and spent several years there. And I guess that was the last real job that I had, and left there about little over a year and a half ago, and went into what I'm doing now, doing construction consulting and coaching and mentoring. So I travel travel all over the place and teach construction business owners, how to streamline their business, how to run a better business, and I'm really enjoying, what I'm doing now. Before I was working for one company doing these things, and now I get to work with literally dozens of companies all over the U.S. and Canada. I even have one client in Sweden.
Wow.
So yeah, if you're listening to this and you got issues and problems with, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Contractors, we all have the same issues when it comes to the business side and the paperwork and the people.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're alone out there. You're not alone. Everybody's struggling with the same thing.
Oh yeah, and it's kind of funny. Everyone, and you talk to somebody and say, "Well, my business is different." Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's all the same. You got people, you got paperwork, and you've got regular business and dealing with people, and it's all about people. And I bet your wife's a lot happier too now, huh?
Well, yeah, it depends on
which.
Yeah, it depends on, when I started this, I didn't think I was going to be traveling so much. And now I'm doing different training. I travel to my clients' locations and do executive training or employee training, but then also doing keynote speaking at trade events and that kind of stuff. So I sold my wife on the whole deal, like, hey, as I travel around, then we find somebody to watch the kids, and then you come out and we can have a long weekend in some of these nice places. But when you have a speaking gig in, I don't know, in Detroit in February or something like that, it's not exactly, what I sold her on. Detroit in February is not exactly, the long weekend that I kind of promised her or whatever.
Well,
so
you need to start booking some stuff in like Hawaii and Miami and Fort Lauderdale in the summer when it's nice and.
Yeah, that's right. I've got one client in Hawaii. I have another one in Key West, Florida. So those aren't the worst places in the world to have to travel any time of the year. So we'll see if that happens.
Now, you said you had 5 kids. What's your oldest and your youngest? What's the
spread? Oh, Dave, you can't ask me those questions. That they keep changing ages. I can't remember them.
I've got grandkids. They're from 15 down to 1.
Yeah.
So that's all I know.
Yeah. So at one time, we have 4 boys, and then the baby is a girl.
Yeah.
So 4 boys, and then we had a girl. I think my oldest he's in 6th grade. So I think he's 11. I think he's going on 12, or maybe he's 10 going on 11. See, this is very embarrassing.
I don't care about, I understand what you're saying. I'm the same way. I know that the oldest is 15, and like I said, the baby just turned 1 a couple months ago, and there's 4 others in between.
Yeah, so I think I've got an almost 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, probably a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old. That gets the 4 boys, and then the baby girl is easy because she was born on my birthday. So as if she wasn't spoiled enough already, she'll be 3. She'll be 3 on March 5th. So yeah.
My oldest and one of my other ones were born both on November 6th, and so Abby goes when her brother was born. She said, "Oh, that is awesome!" Until she had to share a birthday party with him. Now this ain't gonna work.
Yeah, well, as my wife told me, I don't have any more birthdays. They're all hers, which is fine with me because I'm just getting older, so they can all be hers anyway. So
for sure.
Yeah, so
as you travel, talking with your clients, and what are some of the biggest challenges that they're having to overcome in the marketplace right now?
Yeah, right now, it really comes down to, and I hear this with every client, especially construction is back. Things are booming. If 2018 isn't your best year in construction, then you're doing something wrong because there's just so much work out there, and the from the downturn, and this kind of gets into the issue that I was going to talk about. We lost 2 million plus jobs, 10 years ago. And it's not like those people were waiting around till it picked back up to come. Like, they left, they're gone. They left the industry, they left the country.
Yeah.
They're just not there. So demand is huge for construction, and there's not enough people to fill those, the available spots for labor or skilled labor and that. And so I hear that all the time from my clients. Shawn, I just can't find the skilled labor that I need. for my business. If we had more people, then we could do more work. Or we just, we're delaying projects because we just can't get to everything. And so I hear that a lot. We can't find the skilled labor, we can't find it. And I say, you're exactly right. You can't find it because it doesn't exist.
Right.
So, and then that kind of hits them like, well, hey, I hired you to help me solve the problem. Right. And the thing is, the problem is they're just not making plumbers, electricians, carpenters, welders, like they used to generations ago, where that was a viable option. Now and there's nothing, well, you get me on my soapbox here.
No,
there's nothing wrong with a college education,
but,
and I might get in trouble by saying this, but the value of that college education with technology and all this other, it's just not as high as it used to be.
No.
And so there is this, there's this labor gap, and it's huge right now.
Oh,
and so to solve it, the problem is that, that these people don't exist. I say what you're doing is you're hunting for unicorns. You're looking for this mythical creature that's supposed to, in mythology, the unicorn, I guess if you could capture it, the horn of a unicorn had special healing properties and all of these other things, right? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for this guy or gal with 5 or 10 years of experience that can just jump in on the crew, lead the crew to a successful project. You're just looking for a unicorn. It's a mythical creature that doesn't exist.
Well, and I, not too long ago, I was in a continuing education class, and the teacher was going through. He said, "Okay, so there was like 50 people in our classroom." And he goes, "I want you," and it was all for construction. And he goes, "I want everyone to look around the room." And he goes, "How many people are?" And he goes, "How many people are under 40?" And nobody raised their hand.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "How many people are under 50? And there was a couple, but most of them were 50 and above. And he said, "Here's the problem." He said, "There are no new contractors, getting their licenses to fill the gap of what you guys are moving out of." And he says, "That's creating a big problem in the marketplace." And I go, "Yeah." And I said, "And here's the stupid thing, guys. If you don't realize it or not, you all are competing on price when you are no longer a commodity. But people need you, and you're fighting against each other on price. Stop it."
Yeah. Yeah, and the solution to the problem is to say, okay, if we can't find it because it doesn't exist, then what are we supposed to do? Well, you have to create it.
Yeah.
And they're both hard problems to solve. I think that finding something that doesn't exist is a lot harder than creating something that doesn't exist. Meaning, we stop hiring for skill. We stop hiring for technical expertise. Those are things you can teach somebody. But what you need to hire, like most other successful businesses, and we need to take a note from, the big Fortune 500 companies and other things like that, they hire for, in a lot of cases, they'll be hiring for competency and culture and fit. And you say, things like culture to a construction guy, they're like, "What are you talking about? We just get the work done, and we're just nose to the grindstone, knock it out, right?" But every company has a culture, and the culture of your company is what your employees think about working there, right? So you may not have spent any time developing your culture, but I guarantee if I go in and start asking your employees, what are some struggles they have working here, or whatever, you do have a culture. You may just not be aware of exactly what it is.
Right.
So if you can improve, or you can enhance, or you can just talk about what your culture is or what you want it to be, then that's going to attract people that are competent, and that have the right chemistry for your culture and are a good fit. And you just have to say, listen, we can't find these people because they don't exist. we're going to have to create them. So what does that mean? Well, we better have a training program that we can take somebody that does, we're going to hire for a good work ethic and passion. Maybe it's not passion towards carpentry or painting or electrical work, or, whatever the trade is, but you can probably help somebody to develop a passion, because everybody in the trades that are working right now, at some point, no one was born with I don't even care if you've been wearing the tools since you were, since you were a little kid on your grandfather's side and helping him build stuff in the shop. You developed a passion over time because you saw what that passion, what it lived out, what it created. Well, just because somebody's 22 years old and they got a college degree in history, no offense to the history majors out there, but that doesn't mean that guy or gal can't develop a passion very quickly in 6 months, in 8 months, heck, in 4 months, with the right company that shows this is what we do. We create and build this stuff with our hands. At the end of a day, at the end of a week, at the end of a project, we can walk away and point at something and say, we built that. It wasn't here before, and now it is. And the right people for your company, they can develop a passion for whatever the craft is, whatever the trade is, but you got to train them to do it. And I think that you can easily spend 18 months looking for this unicorn, right? And you'll probably go through a couple of people. This is the other thing that I say is, if you hire somebody or if somebody has the skills that you're looking for on paper anyway, or they say they do, you got to ask, why are they available? It's probably because no one wants to work with them, right? So, this guy's got 10 years of experience. He's been a lead carpenter. Now, he's looking for a job, right? You need to make sure that your interviewing process kind of weeds out the psychopaths, right? Because you bring somebody in like that, they're technically very competent. They can do a lot of work, but nobody wants to work around them. They won't listen. They won't get on board with the way your company does stuff. So that can be dangerous too, is when you do find somebody with the technical skills, you got to make sure that you're, back to the culture thing, you got to hire for that first. And you get the right training program in place. In 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, you can probably get somebody to where they need to be, where they're very productive and very profitable for your business. And there are people out there that are they are realizing that they were lied to about college.
Yeah.
If we go $100,000 in debt and get an education, then somebody's just going to pay me $50,000 or $60,000 just because I went to college. And they're working at Starbucks or at the movie theater, or and I've met them. I've talked to them. They're driving Uber, right? Trying to figure out what the next best thing is. Yeah. And you find these people that are looking to put their passion towards something. Maybe hasn't been carpentry or something like that in the past. And you just say, hey, come work for us. We've got a training program and we have a path. In 2 years, you could move up from this level to that level. You can do whatever you want within our company. But you got to have that structure. You got to have something, you got to have something in place. And it's a lot easier if you focus and do that, put those systems and that training in place. You'll be able to take somebody that's pretty green and get them being very productive in a small amount of time, because you'll go through the next 12, 18 months trying to hire the skilled guy and having to fire them. And every time you hire somebody and they come in and work for a little while and you got to let them go, then I think there's statistics that say, when you fire somebody or have to let them go, it costs you to 30 or 40% of whatever their yearly salary would have been. So
that lost time. I worked for a company like that years and years ago. It was you can't train and fire them. And I'm going, you don't understand. No, we do understand. I said, no, you don't understand the costs involved in training them, what it takes toll on me, what it takes a toll on you in dollars and cents. Well, we don't care about that. We just want somebody that can do the job. I said, well, we got to train them. No, if they can't do the job, just fire them. I said, well, that doesn't make sense, and then there again, it's like going back to, like you said, it goes back to leadership and culture. Mm-hmm. And the nice part about what you're talking about, from what I'm seeing, and is that now your construction company, you can strategically grow your company along a path because you're bringing people on board that you can train. And I think that's awesome, because now you're, instead of planning for tomorrow because they need help tomorrow. You're planning for the future, which if anybody in the construction industry would hope that their business would last for the future instead of short term. So I think everyone has to look differently at it, but I think it's, what you're talking about is so awesome because it's long term and it's scheduled for long term growth. But not only that, but you've got long term profits, and then if you've got the culture, that you've got a good culture, or you don't have a good culture, but you know that you need to be the leader, you need to change, then that makes all the difference in the world, and you can become, a force to reckon with in your marketplace.
Yeah, there's companies out there that when they get this, here's what I see. I think that the trend is shifting. I think that there are more people getting into the trades. They're dabbling in it a little bit, but society still looks down on construction. Meaning they say, oh, you couldn't, you're doing construction because you couldn't have done anything else. Right. And I think that's starting to change a little bit, just because of just exposure to it. Things like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, they're seeing, that this is a viable career to work in the trades. So it is starting to shift, but I think that the companies that are going to win when demand or when the supply does change, and I think it will change. I think eventually the gap will get so big that the government will step in and start throwing a lot of money back at trade schools and putting VOTEC back into education. When that happens, the supply is going to jump up. It's the companies that have spent the last 10 years previous to that time, whenever that is, building a training program, building a recruiting process. They're going to be able to pick the cream of the crop, and then those business owners are finally going to be able to ride off into retirement because now the supply, they're going to get the best people, and their companies are going to be set, right? Everybody else is going to be scrambling for the supply, and now they're going to say, yeah, they've got some technical training, right? So there's some more welders, there's some more plumbers. They're great. Now you got a people problem. They still don't, your company isn't set up to work in, a team atmosphere, and how do we communicate and how do we grow? Because sometimes growing, just for the sake of growing, can put you out of business, quicker than anything else. So it's those companies that right now, when this gap is huge and the work is really hard, and and they change their mindset from hiring as their first step to recruiting as their first step, they're going to win when the supply does change, when there are more technically skilled people. But again, the technical skills part, that just gets your foot in the door. What gets you the job, what makes you the money, and what gives you a huge opportunity with construction companies is your character, and combine that with the culture of the company. So that's how I think, and that's the long game, is do the hard work now, get your culture and get your training procedures in place so that you can get good people and train them. And then that's a system that, for success right there.
Yeah. And if you have a company that's been doing this progressively and growing and training and recruiting, then people are going to come to you first. You're going to be able to, you're going to be running the profit margins you should be running to run a very successful business anyway. So you'll be able to afford people who have the right mindset, who have the right culture, or into your culture, and grow within the company. You'll be able to pay them more than the average contracting company.
Yeah. And that's part of the recruiting mindset. Yeah. Like, listen, supply is down, demand is high. Guess what? You're going to pay more from the very beginning. Just get over it. That's part of recruit. Like when the Yankees go out and recruit somebody, like they just pay the bill, whatever the guy needs for his contract, right? Because he's an all-star player and we need him to, win the World Series or whatever. Like, the money just, let's get that out of the way. So yeah, you are going to pay a little bit more, but we're playing a long game. What's the payoff in the end, right? That A player is really going to produce for you. And I hear that a lot too. Say, maybe somebody's listening. They say, okay, Shawn, I get it. Dave, I get it. But I don't know. This is another issue I hear a lot from my clients. I don't know if I can afford to hire somebody. right? Or when is the right time to hire somebody? And it's this mindset of like, oh, okay, let's just look at the numbers and say, okay, if this is what I hear a lot is, okay, we're going to pay somebody $25 an hour. That's $50,000 a year. I don't have that kind of cash, or I don't have that much money or whatever. I'm like, whoa, listen, if you're hiring right and you're hiring the right person,
yes.
maybe and you've got what I call an onboarding process, right? Maybe it takes somebody a couple of weeks to get into your system, to get in your company and kind of learn the ropes or whatever. After that, they should be making you money, right? They're not a cost anymore, right? They should be making you money. So yeah, maybe you should have a cash reserve of a couple of weeks of payroll for that person. But after that, they should be making you money. If they're not, you hired the wrong person, or you're not training them right. So it's not really, Shawn, I don't think I can afford to hire somebody. Most of the time, it's you can't afford not to hire somebody. You as the business owner have got to concentrate on business development and sales and marketing and now training.
Yeah.
You can't worry about wearing the tools every day. You got to hire somebody to do that. And in fact, that's why you're not making the profits that you need to make right now, is because your high value work, the sales, the marketing, the business development, stuff that generates hundreds, if not thousands of dollars an hour when you can put time in there,
Sure.
You're trapped doing $30, $40, $50 an hour work.
Right. Yeah, I know. I run into this with so many people. It's mind-boggling that they can't get past the $12 an hour, or $20 an hour, or even $30 an hour mindset, and it just because they're so used to doing it. Stop it. Just stop it.
And it's not. I don't say it's not easy.
No,
it's not. But you got to start. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and it's I've had conversations with guys. Well, I can't do this because I've got something to do, and I'm going because it starts off very, it's very challenging in the beginning to do stuff. I said you just need to make an appointment with yourself. I'm going to take 2 hours on this day to do this task, and it could be like one guy I was talking with. He said I need to go market. I need to go call on at this time. I think he was looking at the property managers. I said, you need to schedule 2 hours, 2 hours on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Just schedule that 2 hours. I said, you make your phone calls, make your appointments the week before. And I said, if somebody calls in sick, you don't jump on a truck. Because you put that off. You call the customer and say, listen, we're running a little behind. We're either going to make it this afternoon, or we're gonna have to reschedule it tomorrow, because you're talking about making $1,000 on a job to maybe getting a contract for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. You have to really get into the point of what's the most important. It's not dollars today. It's for the owner. It's dollars tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's the Stephen Covey writes about it in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's the urgent versus the important. Right. We gotta, and it's hard. Like the urgent stuff is urgent, right? But the important stuff doesn't take as much time as the urgent stuff. But the urgent always bleeds into the important time. So if we can get that focus time, focus on the important stuff, and what we were talking about before, that, okay, what's the first step in our recruiting process? Like, let's just spend some time, this 15 minutes, 30 minutes this week, thinking about recruiting instead of hiring, right? That will generate some ideas. Now go do that. Now go deal with the urgent stuff, fight the fires and all that kind of stuff. But then, like you said, meet with yourself again that next week, another 30 minutes. What's the next step? And then if you do that for any period of time, it creates a habit and gets into discipline. Then you're at least, you've got this focused time where you're working on important stuff. And then that's what creates momentum and movement towards having a better year than you did, than you had the year before.
And I've even had conversations with people who say, well, you don't understand. I said, dude, I do understand. I understand everything you're going through. I've been through it, and I still go through it at certain times. But here's the thing: if you're going to make an appointment to do something, if you're going to schedule time with yourself to do this task or that task, or to create something new, I said schedule it, and I want you to write a dollar amount in there. What's the worst case scenario, what would it cost you? What's
Mm-hmm.
that time worth? Is it worth $1,000? Is it worth $10,000, or is it worth $12? You have to put the value of your time in there, but otherwise you're not gonna force yourself to go through the steps you need, like you said, to start the recruitment process, or even write down what you're even thinking about of hiring. And I know I was listening to one guy, and he was saying, he says all the people that work for me are assets, and I think of them as assets. We all work well together. He said once they are no longer an asset, then we part company.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a beautiful way to look at it, because what's an asset? An asset is something that works for you in conjunction to your goals and everything. It brings you in money. So an asset can't be an expenditure.
Right. Yeah. It adds value.
Yeah.
It adds value to the company.
Yeah. So it's like, that rental property. It's an asset as long as it's paying you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you ain't going to get rid of it until it stops, So
That's right.
You need to think about your employees like that. So you've got the recruitment process, and are your clients, are they finding it's, of course, I know it's hard to work through, but are a lot of them seeing a long-term plan, a long-term thing?
Yeah. I mean, they're starting to, they're starting to see with that recruitment mentality. The other thing too is just like look everywhere for your next employee. Talk to the guys at the, there's a kid that's working at the loading docks of the building supply company right now. He's not necessarily quote unquote in construction or have skill, but he's close to it, right? He's
dealing with people. He works.
He's working with people, but he's around it a little bit, right? So that's a great place to start. In a company that I used to work with, the owner was an excellent recruiter, and he would go in and if he found somebody at Lowe's or Home Depot working the cash register and they were smiling and he was treated with respect, he gave that guy a business card and said, if you're thinking about being a trim carpenter, you ought to give us a call. Even if you've never thought about it before, come by our office, see what we're doing. You're already working at Lowe's or Home Depot. You're on the outskirts of this thing. We want to show you what somebody like you can do at a company like ours. And we've hired guys and gals from that, So it starts with just you got to look everywhere. Everybody's a potential employee.
My roofer friend, his last 3 salesmen that he picked up, nothing about sales, nothing about the roofing industry, nothing about nothing. They were all his waiters at his favorite restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah, waiters are really good.
Yeah, because they know how to interact with people. They know how to.
They got to think on their feet. They got to solve a lot of problems very quickly for very impatient people that with 5 kids waiting on the chicken fingers and Yeah.
So like and so that's so cool for a lot of you guys out there that are listening. You got to think outside the box. You got to be constantly looking for friendly people that that are friendly, they're interactive, and the funny thing is that like we were talking about earlier, you look so long for the technical side of it, and I learned a long time ago, you hire for attitude. You can always teach technical, because 98% of the time you're going to fire for attitude.
That's right.
So start with the good stuff first, man.
Yeah, we're all going to make mistakes technically, right? But that's usually not a fireable offense. That if you keep making the same technical mistakes, it's probably because you have an attitude problem that you're not learning or you're not listening or whatever. But it's really not because of the technical mistakes, like you said. It's an attitude mistake.
Yeah, I was a guy I know. He put a Facebook post on. He goes, I get tired of all you guys in a particular industry complaining that you can't keep good help. He goes, I want you to understand what the problem is. It is not your help. It is you.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that recruiting mentality means that the hiring process is longer. It means you need to have 3 or 4 interviews. You need to probably have other people within your organization interview them. So what does that mean? Well, we need to train some of our lead technicians or some of our project managers to how to interview, right? They need to know that skill. That's another business skill that they need to learn, because that's going to help you run the business.
Right.
You as the owner doing all of the interviews is not going to be as helpful as if you got to get these other guys. And I've seen that before too, where we pulled lead carpenters in and said, hey, we got this potential guy. He's going to be working with you on your team. I want you to have a chance to vote on this, because he's not going to be working. He's going to be working for me, but he's going to be working with you. And the insights that the guys on the, boots on the ground kind of guys that are in the trenches, they'll pick up on stuff, and not necessarily bad stuff. They'll pick up on other things where they'll say, yeah, this person is really good. I can tell their character because we had a conversation totally unrelated to something else, but they're a good fit for us, their attitude. And because everybody looks good on a resume, and everybody's going to try and say the right things in front of the owner or the manager or whatever, but get them with some of their peers and let them just have a conversation. And so, but that takes more time. That costs a little bit more money. You mean, Shawn, I'm going to pay my lead carpenter to come into the office for 45 minutes in the middle of the day and interview somebody?
Yep.
Yeah. It's going to cost you a couple $100, but if you make the wrong hire, it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. So spend a couple $100 and train your lead carpenter how to do some job interviews.
Yeah. So it boils down to, you're not hiring for today, because you need employees today. You're hiring for tomorrow because you want to grow your company and you want your people to grow with you. Is basically what it is. Because it's going to cost you a fortune to hire the wrong, like you said, to hire the wrong people. And if you're hiring because I'm busy and I need to hire people, then it would be, I know you guys are going to hate me for saying this, but it would be smarter to turn the work away than lose the money.
Yeah, you can. I always tell this to my clients when they say, "Oh, we're really busy." I'm like, "Okay, you're making any money?" No. All right. Well, you can just sit at home and go out of business. Yep. You don't need to go and work your butt off for it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know.
But
I had a
but
guy.
The other thing about what we're talking about, in recruiting and playing the long game here too, is I hear this a lot. Is, well, I want to give this person an opportunity. And again, it's just a slight little mind shift change or a language change, saying don't give anybody an opportunity. What you want, what your people actually want, is they want a path. Give them a path. Show them where they can go, but they earn the opportunity.
Right.
We don't give opportunities at this company. What we give is a path. What we give is training. What we give is a path to go from here to eventually to project manager, to estimator, to general manager. Heck, you can become the CEO of some companies. The owners they can't wait to not have to run the company if somebody, so don't give them an opportunity. Let them earn the opportunity, but you got to show them a path.
Absolutely.
Because when people see the path that they're on, then they'll earn their way along that path. And that path may take a couple of different rabbit trails that you otherwise were trying to force them in. But given someone's strengths and their abilities, then your company will be better off. But what does that look like? Well, that means you have an employee handbook that has job description and job titles and responsibilities, and there's an organizational chart, and you have a communication system, and you have a meeting schedule. All of that takes time and planning and thinking, just like we were talking about before. That's important stuff, the stuff that we got to stop doing, the urgent stuff, to get those things in place.
Down.
Yeah, I talk to so many business owners, and when I go in to train their employees, one thing that we work on, I say, "What's your job title?" Well, I'm a lead carpenter.
What does that mean?
What? Yeah. Okay. Are you sure? Because it sounded like you said, "I'm a lead carpenter?" ?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I'm a lead carpenter, I think. And so it's just like, I talk to enough employees and I ask them what their job title is and what that means. What are their responsibilities? They don't know. So no wonder you're having people problems. No wonder, the business is kind of even though you're super, super busy and people are really frustrated, you don't understand, because your people don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They don't know what you want them to be doing, because a lot of times people will, business owners will hire to fill a gap, and and they'll hire for a person instead of hiring for a job. Yeah. Because when Joe leaves this position, we're going to hire for that position. We can't possibly hire another Joe because Joe was Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy just listening to this because I know it's so true. Wow, this has really been awesome. We're getting close to the end of our time. Is there anything in the back of your mind that you just wanted to, had a thought about that you wanted to bring up to the front before we close out in the next few minutes or so?
Oh, I always try to end on this, just because somebody once asked me, if you could only teach one thing to construction business owners or contractors, what would it be? And it's very simplistic, but you got to understand the difference between margin and markup.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'd be happy to teach that, because when contractors get that and they understand, and we don't have enough time to go into all of that, but when they realize how the math works on that and what the difference between those two terms are and what it means for their business, then it totally changes the way they operate. At least, as far as knowing what, when your costs are, what your markup needs to be to produce a certain margin. So I'll leave it with that, just saying, if you don't know the difference between margin or markup, or you think you do, you probably don't, and that's okay. No. Again, like we said at the beginning, you're not alone. Yeah. No one gets this until they really, study it or whatever. Right. Learn the difference between margin and markup.
Yeah, maybe we'll do in the future. We'll do another podcast about that. We'll drive everybody nuts.
Yeah. Doing numbers and math on a podcast is thrilling content.
Yeah, you got to picture this. So we'll do it in ducks and birds.
Yeah, that's right.
Shawn, this has really been awesome. How do our listeners get in touch with you if they want to find out more about you, what you do, and your whole organization?
Yep. Easiest way is just Google me, and I should pop up all over the place. It's ShawnVanDyke.com is the website, and that's SHAWN. But if your listeners want to, get some, start taking some actions and getting some results, I've got a book called The Paperwork Punch List: 28 Days to Streamline Your Construction Business. Free ebook on my website. Just go to ShawnVanDyke.com/thepaperworkpunchlist. Give me your email address and you'll get the book download for free. It's about 70-some pages, and it just kind of walks you through step by step some stuff that you can do over the next 28 days, over the next 4 weeks, to start getting some of the paperwork stuff out of the way, some of the systems in place.
Well, we'll make sure that all that goes in our show notes when we do that, so everyone will be able to do that. Awesome. This has really been cool, and I really appreciate you talking about this, because this is really something in the industry that's driving everybody nuts.
Well, man, Dave. Thanks for having me on. This has been a blast. I think we could have probably talked for 2 hours on different stuff. So anytime, man, anytime.
All right, thanks. Again, I want to thank you for joining us and investing your time with us today. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, go to iTunes and give us a shout out. You can also go to our website, www.contractorsecretweapon.com, and check out today's episode and leave us a comment in the bottom of the page. And if you haven't gotten your 15 secret weapon strategies to getting higher-end customers, get it while you're at the website. Also, I want to thank again our sponsors for keeping this podcast alive, for your profit-making pleasure. And so go be profitable this week. Work smarter, not harder, and learn how to leverage your time and your knowledge so that you can be more profitable. Again, see you next week.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Contractor's Secret Weapon Podcast with Dave Negri. We would love to hear your comments about this episode, so visit us online at www.contractorsecretweapon.com and let us hear your thoughts. If you were listening via iTunes, please leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive, the more other contractors will benefit from this show. Thank you, and see you next time here on the Contractor's Secret Weapon Podcast.